showers roll through here today and give us about a nice half-inch rain, and we've also got some other things accomplished. We cleaned our cattle shed and stuff, so we're kind of about as caught up as we ever get. So we thought we'd take a little time and check on some crops and some things that see how they're progressing and if there's anything they need. We're standing here at the field of corn that we planted. This was the first that we planted, and we shot some footage of that, and we talked about how it was kind of tough at the time we planted it, pretty cloudy, but it came up pretty good, and we shot a little footage of talked to you all a little bit about that after it came up, and we was pretty pleased with that. Well, that was then back in April, and in the month of May we had over a foot of rain for the month, and this ground kind of lays in the bottoms, which means it doesn't drain extremely well, so you get concerned about too much water. And we're fortunate enough that our seed company have different hybrids with different packages for different types of soil. So I planted a corn here that can stand quite a bit of water, and it has performed pretty well. As you can see, it's a little over head high now. We're probably a week to 10 days from starting to see some tassels appear for our pollination, and I hope we have another little shower would help that, and maybe some cooler weather. But it also has the trait in its package that it's supposed to be able to basically pollinate under most any conditions. It can take real wet weather, but it also can take dry weather if the water shuts off on us. So we didn't used to have those options to choose from. We just kind of had to pick a corn and hope for the best. So that's one way in which technology has really helped us when it comes to growing our corn. And they look to be just fine. So we're here checking some beans. These were the first beans that we planted. Normally we plant our beans in May, but like I said, we had about a foot of rain during the month of May, so that was a bit impossible. So these were planted the first part of June. They've been in the ground, well, I guess they wasn't that early. They've been in the ground for roughly 10 days. So they're up and doing well. We're down again in the lower bottoms. We're sure not against the river, but we're down into the lower kind of ground. And as you look out across the terrain, it's just almost flat. I mean, there's very little fall to this ground, so we have to come up with some way that we're going to do something about the surface water, which is what we call the rain that falls on a piece of ground. When we have those big rains of 3 or 4 inches, this water, just can't, it puddles up and it gets quite a bit of water on it just from what's fallen. So we cut these ditches out into the field to the main road ditch, so that every so often we get this, it'll as it's running down and trying to move around, it'll hit one of these ditches and it'll take off and go into our main ditch, which then is tied into a system, and eventually it'll flow out of here. If we didn't put these in here, you would have big areas in the field that would just drown out because the water would just stand here. So we've had this particular farm for 35 years, so we kind of know where to put the ditches and which way to drain. And if you'll look, I'll show you right off my shoulder here, back in there where you kind of see that grass. Just about 2 weeks ago, there was 2 foot of water out there. It gets trapped, and then it takes it just a little while to run off. We've got a piping system that takes it out of there. During that wet spell, I came down and cleaned out one of the risers there in that particular spot, and we filmed it for you. But when I showed up then to plant it, it turned out, I think it was exactly 5 days from when the last water went off of it that I was able to go through it with a planter and tractor and plant, and it was What I'm checking now is a field of wheat that we've cut this week. Actually, we cut it yesterday, and we put it back in double crop beans. And what I mean by double crop is, as soon as the combine got done taking the wheat off, I came in with the planter and put it back in soybeans, because it's early enough in the season they still have a chance of making some awful good beans, and allows us then to reap more revenue off of the same acres. So we're going to dig down. These beans have been in the ground a little over 24 hours, and if I'm fortunate enough to find one, we're going to kind of see what they're doing. They should be at least swelled up and puffed up. So let's see what we got. Alright, we were fortunate to find one. That bean is there, and you'll see that it's pink where it's got some insecticide on it. There's some inoculant. You'll see where it is split open right here. It's swelled up fat enough to split this outer skin on that bean open. That is the first step of the plant process. Now that it has done that, it will move into a plant mode, and it will start to put out a little root, a little shoot. It'll sprout. And for them to be at this stage only roughly a day after being put in the ground, that's just exactly what you want. You don't want them to have to lay there very long. The longer they lay there and don't do anything, the more bad things can happen. So hopefully, if they're all like that, we're in pretty good shape. There's another one. We didn't used to have this option. We couldn't just run in here with a planter and be able to put the seeds in the ground. We either had to burn the straw off, had to bale the straw off, which means coming in and either mowing the straw down or something like that, and baling it and getting it off. We had to clean the fields up when I was younger and a kid, and we used to try to do this. But now we're able to just come in. Technology and the different machines we have has allowed us to be able to plant them in there, and it kind of helps when you can be able to double use your acres like this. It doesn't always work out, but sometimes we get a break, and it does. If you wanted to bale the straw, you can see here that it's just kind of laying around in little pieces because it ran through the very last thing in the combine that it goes through. Is called a straw chopper. And it chops it and sizes it up, and then it has fans on it, and it spreads it out in a pattern. If you'd wanted to bale this, you would have not used your chopper, and you can just shut it off and move it out of the way while it's still on the machine, and then everything that comes in the front of the combine then comes out in about a 4-foot width right in the center of the machine. Then you're able to just come in here with your baler after you've done that, and run down those rows of straw, wrap it up and bale it, and then you're ready to go. We're back at the wheat field that we made a video on earlier about the time, I don't remember the date, but we had a late frost. So we did a check then and looked it over, and we thought it was going to be okay. So we're back here checking this wheat field again. This field is roughly about 7 days from being ready to cut. So we're going to crush some out, kind of look at the grain quality. We've had some issues in the area this year with some disease. It causes a toxin to be in the wheat that causes them to not be able to want to take it at the local elevators because it's hard to move on up the chain. So we'll look here, and kind of what we're looking for is any kernels that have a little pink cast to them. We sprayed this with an airplane with a fungicide for that very reason, because the excess moisture we had in the month of May is what brings on those toxins. And if you can get it sprayed, a lot of times you can head them off, and we don't have any trouble with them. But once again, that's an added expense that you really don't want to have to get involved in, because we were cutting wheat exactly a year ago today, and I looked it up, and wheat was 50 cents a bushel higher than it is today. So as we look here, we can see that the grains are well formed. What we're looking for is if we have any grains that are really shriveled up and not completely filled out. If we look at the very end of them, you'll see that they'll have some pink cast to them, and that means that they've got the toxin in them. I don't see anything here, and we have run some samples of some other wheat that we've got, and it came back clean, so we're very hopeful that this field is clean as well. So we will continue to wait for this to dry down. We're hoping about next Thursday to be in here and to harvest this field. So if we're in here getting it taken out, we'll shoot some video of that, and we'll kind of see how this whole thing has turned out. So if you like the video, be sure and click the like button. We would love for you to become a subscriber, so hit that subscribe button so that you'll get a notification every time we make a new video. And as far as I can tell here, I'm pretty happy with all this, so it's all good.